They say that the hardest part of starting over is saying goodbye. But actually what I found is that the real challenge isn't in the leaving. It's in the arriving. No one talks about what it actually feels like to build a new life from scratch. They romanticize the idea of the move like it's a clean break. A new city, a fresh start, a suitcase of essentials, and that hope that maybe things will feel different this time. But they skip over the part where you land, where your SIM card can't connect, your ride cancels twice, the air feels denser and full of fumes, and your mattress, well, it's a firm reminder that comfort isn't a given. And just like that, the fantasy of reinvention starts to feel less like a fresh start and more like a logistical headache. Because the truth is, the hardest part of building a new life somewhere else isn't the loneliness or the language barrier or even the time zone that makes you feel 12 hours behind everyone that you love. It's the adjustment. The tiniest details you never gave a second thought back home, suddenly they become complicated puzzles. You realize that you don't know where to get a matcha that doesn't taste fishy or bitter. You spend 20 minutes comparing 5 cafes on Google Maps before giving up and just getting one from 7-Eleven. The pillow is either too flat or too full. Your back hurts and the shower pressure can't be a joke. You try 3 grocery stores and you still can't find almond milk that tastes respectable in your coffee. And that's when it starts to dawn on you. You're not just trying to find your way in a new place. You're trying to rebuild every tiny habit, every rhythm, every routine that made you feel like yourself. And that takes time. I couldn't help but wonder, when you move to a new country, how much of your struggle is really about the city and how much of it is it about no longer having reference points? Back home, you had them without even realizing it. A coffee shop where they had the coffee blend and the weird milk that you like. The grocery store aisle that you could walk through blindfolded. Your gym that had a working sauna and clean mats. The way the air felt so clean and crispy from your balcony. But now everything is a question mark. So much of the early days in the new country aren't about magic or discovery. They're about trial and error. And that means some days feel like all error. You think you'll just pick something quickly, but 30 minutes later you're still reading reviews of restaurants and wondering why you're more lost in the menu than you were on your first day in the city. Eventually you settle on the same restaurant you ordered from your first night. Not because it's the best, but because it's familiar and it's one less decision to make from scratch. And just like that, your new life starts to take shape. Not because you planned it perfectly, but because you defaulted to what felt the least risky. Or at least what felt less tiring to decide. What they don't tell you is that your first decision in a new city, whether it's what to eat, where to walk, whether to take a Grab or take the BTS, where to go to get your nails done for the first time, where you should get coffee, or where to get almond milk that tastes okay, all of these, they will become the blueprint. Not because it was the best choice, but because it was the first good one. Because when you're in a place where everything is unfamiliar, the very first thing that feels even slightly okay, it becomes your safe zone. The first coffee that isn't too bitter, it becomes your usual. The gym that doesn't smell like a high school locker room, it becomes your go-to. The first meal that didn't disappoint, suddenly you're loyal. We build routines not out of preference, but out of survival. They say we're creatures of habit, but I think we're creatures of familiarity. Because when everything around us feels unfamiliar, we cling to anything that feels remotely stable. And in a new city, that stability forms fast. Not from intentional decisions, but from early choices. I used to think that habits were intentional, built carefully. But now, I think most of our routines are accidents, just a result of one good experience in a sea of uncomfortable trial and error. Because in a new place, you cling to the things that don't make you feel lost. And so your second day starts to look like your first. And by the end of the week, you've built a life without even meaning to. But here's the catch. If you're not careful, those early survival choices, they become your entire identity in a place that you haven't even explored yet. The hardest part of building a new life isn't the big things. It's the small ones that you never saw coming. Like trying to recreate a version of comfort that you had no idea you were so attached to. Like wondering why the tap water tastes wrong and why is it so harsh on your hair. Like missing the smell of your shower gel because you couldn't bring a whole suitcase of it with you. Your grocery aisle shortcuts. Your favorite matcha that took you years to find. These things aren't luxuries, they are anchors. And when you remove every single anchor at once, you drift. So when everything around you is new, how long does it take to feel like anything is truly yours? Because every decision, every movement requires thought. Nothing is automatic. And decision fatigue isn't just for CEOs and corporate girlies. It's for anyone trying to find a good cafe with good coffee, clean bathroom, and a quiet workspace to work at, without listening to a Justin Bieber 2012 playlist from the time you go until the time you leave. And yeah, that's a personal experience. In the beginning, everything is like wet cement. The way you wake up, the streets you walk, the kind of person you're trying to be, and you don't realize that it's setting. And it's setting fast. You think you're just passing through, trying this, something that, but what you do in those first days sticks. That morning that you skip the gym, it becomes the norm. That afternoon that you decide to just stay inside, it becomes a pattern. That one day you work from your bed instead of going out, suddenly it's a routine. We talk about reinvention like it's intentional, but most of the time it's just inertia. They say it takes 21 days to form a habit, but I think in a new city it only takes one. Not because you planned it, but because it worked. Or at least it didn't make you cry. And that's the thing that no one tells you about building a new life. You don't start with having it all figured out. You start figuring one thing at a time. And from there, you build. Eventually, you have your spots, your breakfast order, then place where you order your matcha from, your toothpaste brand, your walking route that avoids construction. But it doesn't mean that you fully know the city yet. It just means that you have carved out a version of stability. And maybe that's what the first phase is really about. Not falling in love with the place, but falling back into rhythm. Slowly, those wins begin to add up. And without realizing it, you've started to build a life. One filled with new habits, new places, and new comforts. But it still doesn't feel like home just yet. Because here's the real secret that no one mentions. You don't arrive in a new city once. You arrive over and over again. Every day you choose to stay, every time you choose to adapt instead of give up, every moment you say, okay, this is not what I'm used to, but I'll try. And eventually, one morning you realize that you didn't need Google Maps to get to your gym. You didn't think twice before ordering your breakfast. And you didn't get a headache from decision fatigue. You just lived. And that is the beginning of something real. So, if you think about it really, is the hardest part of starting a new life really the adjustment? Or is it accepting that the magic doesn't come all at once, and it's built layer by layer in the tiniest of choices? Because maybe happiness doesn't show up in your new Airbnb. Maybe it arrives disguised as your first successful grocery run. Your first walk where you didn't get lost. Your first night where the sounds of motorbikes didn't keep you up, but they soothed you. Maybe the hardest part of building a new life isn't all the adjusting you have to do, or the new routines that you have to piece together like a difficult puzzle. Maybe the hardest part is giving yourself permission to take your time, to not find the perfect cafe on the first try, to feel disoriented in the morning and not take it as a personal failure, to order the wrong thing, to go to the wrong place, to feel a little lost and still believe that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Because when nothing is familiar, even the simplest things take longer, especially the simplest things. And maybe, just maybe, success isn't about how quickly you rebuild, but in how willing you are to let the imperfect moments teach you what actually feels right. Because in a place where everything is unfamiliar, every wrong turn, every bad coffee, and every offbeat morning, it becomes a quiet lesson in what you do want, what feels right for you. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop trying to recreate the life that you had, and you start discovering the one that you were meant to build. Because maybe the detours weren't detours at all. Maybe they were just your new reference points waiting to be found.